Well, Razorback fans, I'm going to tell you exactly why timing is everything when it comes to Razorback football right now, how it could have been prevented, and how it's going to impact the future. I'll tell you what all I mean on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday. You're the halfway point of the week, but we'll have some things to talk about, especially given now Arkansas's 4-year schedule in the SEC has been released, at least who you're going to be playing and where. Have some reactions to that, as well as one of the things I think Razorback fans are scared of and nervous of in these point and crazy times that we're in. But thing is I wanted to start today's podcast with getting into something that I know a lot of people are wanting to know more about, at least at this point. And that's about the current situation. You know, I talked about it yesterday and about the Bobby Petrino angles and the things that have been reported on that. And, you know, I'm going to say this because a lot of people reach out and asking. The only things I know is that the bye week is going to be interesting regardless, especially given the results of what this weekend will be against Notre Dame. I think it's a matter of what's it going to look like as far as the timing of firings or removals or stepping away or resignations, whatever it is, it's going to be looked at. I feel like it could be very interesting and be on the watch for what's going to be happening this next week. But here's the thing that I want to caution a lot of Razorback fans in, but also revisit and kind of use examples of how important it is on timing. Because I see so many, whether you mean it or not, talk about a coach who loses a game that you feel like you shouldn't win, doesn't need to be, or shouldn't lose, shouldn't be lost in any case, in any situation. And so many will say, fire him on the spot. Don't let him back on the bus. Don't let him walk off the field as the next head coach. Because it shows your level of anger. It shows your level of frustration. And in a lot of cases, it's justified and rightfully so. I mean, so many of you maybe felt that way against Memphis this past week. I get it. Totally understand it. But the thing is that you're in a very unique situation compared to a lot of schools. Because you once again find yourself in position to where not only will you be possibly, potentially, maybe more than likely, moving on from your head coach in football, but also your athletic director around the same time. We've seen this movie before. We've seen this happen before. I was thinking back to when Julie Cromer-Peoples was doing that press conference after Brett Bielema was fired off the field and Jeff Long had been fired. And how weird it was. And what transpired after that, I think, is what makes a lot of Razorback fans gun shy, which is what I'm going to talk about here in just a little bit about what can scare or what does scare Razorback fans. But the thing is that timing is going to be everything in this situation. Over the next few weeks, maybe the next few months, timing is everything. Because if you just fire Hunter Yurchek and fire Sam Pittman, same time, we'll just say at the bye week. Next week, boom, both get the axe or departing of ways or whatever. You'll celebrate. You'll be happy. At least a lot of you will be. And finally, we got a new football coach coming in. We got a new AD that hopefully believes in winning. And the excitement and energy surrounding that newness is going to be incredible. I mean, every day you're going to want to know more. Who's going to be? But what really throws in a whole nother wrinkle into all of this is the Bobby Petrino angle. because we've been talking about it. We talked about it yesterday. And having him into the mix and having him into the discussion as far as him trying to be the head coach or at least the interim coach. And, if you make a midseason change, is he the one that takes over, even though there's other coaches that maybe felt like they should be in there? Like, whatever it could be. That's a whole different animal. So you got three major personalities, three major figures that all have a very big involvement into this situation. And what you're basically giving it up to and putting into a leadership role is probably going to be the board of trustees. If it's not the board of trustees, maybe it's a member of the board of trustees, or maybe it's a big donor, big booster, whoever. But you're essentially setting it up to where you're trusting whoever's in charge now or at that point in time to do the right thing. And if you cut off all of it at once with Pittman and Yurchek and they're gone, suddenly that person or group, whoever it is put in charge of looking at the situation with no AD and no head coach and saying, okay, it's in the middle of the football season. What do I do here? Well, I'll give it to Petrino. Let him be the interim. Suddenly, that causes problems among the coaching staff because maybe Travis Williams felt like he should have gotten it. Maybe Scott Fountain, because he's the associate head coach, maybe he felt like he should have gotten it. Well, you make your decision. Let's go with Petrino, we'll say, and that causes a problem. You still got games to play. You still got to owe it to the players. You got to owe it to the fans. You got to owe it to everybody to still go out there. And even though Petrino is the easy answer to be the interim coach, suddenly if you make that decision, it could cause all this division and all these extra problems, extra headaches that you're going to have to deal with. But then suddenly say that Petrino gets to do pretty well. Maybe he wins a game or two he shouldn't. Maybe turn some things around a little bit. Now you got to start to thinking of, okay, well, I was trying to talk to these other coaches, but now Petrino's wanting this job, and now he's maybe wanting to be the guy. And he's proven himself that he can still coach, but there's a lot than just an interim basis. Do we want another Ed Orgeron situation or John L. Smith situation here? And do you want him to be the head coach of Arkansas once again? And maybe there's some pressure on some fans being like, hey, hire this guy. And you're sitting back and be like, man, this is above my job description. I'm not an athletic director. We don't have one of those. I'm the one in charge. Well, I don't know what to do here. Well, I want to make the fans happy. So maybe we do go with Petrino. But then suddenly you start kind of pushing that a little bit. And then you start hearing noise that no AD that was wanting to interview you that you were originally wanting to, because they're like, well, we don't want to work with Petrino. We don't want to walk into a situation where we don't have our head coach. We don't want to walk in where our first thing on the job is to try to clean up this mess. And suddenly we have a football coach that is not great to work with, and I don't want to work with him. And, we don't have that connection. And then you miss out on maybe some potential ADs that could be really good. And then as the pressure mounts to this person or to this board or whoever, you're not equipped for this. You're not set up for this. And now you start having to make the decision of, well, geez, like, what do I hire the coach first, or do I hire the AD first? Or before I hire the coach, should I go to the AD that I'm thinking about and ask him about it? Or do I hire the AD first, and then he comes to me about the coach he could get, and then we go get to the coach? And then we got the transfer portal and stuff, and as well as recruiting and signing day and all these players coming in. And you start really thinking about what the impact could be, because you know how consequential this type of situation could end up being. You could piss off a lot of people. You could make a lot of people upset. You could make people, and you feel like maybe you make the wrong decision, because the last thing you want to do, since there's been precedent set, is have another situation with the Chad Morris deal, where essentially a board of trustees and everybody there hired Chad Morris, not the AD. The AD signed off on a 100-year check because he just got hired. He's like, what am I going to do? And it ended up being an unmitigated disaster. But they're also the ones with the money. They're also the ones with the understanding? Or do they have the political power? Do they have the connections to be able to put things together to make a good amount of money and to be able to promise and provide in these uncertain times in college athletics, to be able to make it all work and be able to have it all set up for this new coach coming in, as well as the new AD, and the AD be all in and the coach be all in and they work together and all of that. I went through that scenario. And here's the thing, that's just a few scenarios that could happen. A few scenarios because nothing's happened technically yet. But I say all that to remind all of you Razorback fans that timing is everything. You don't want to fire a coach too soon, but you don't want to wait too late. You don't want to fire an AD too soon. You don't want to wait too late. Maybe you don't want to fire him at the same time. Maybe you want to look at things a little bit differently. Maybe you have some people in mind you want to talk to. But maybe if you wait too long, then they'll go talk to somebody else or some other school that's opened up. Oklahoma State just opened up. This is a very dangerous game that is being played. It's a very important game. And the question that I think Razorback fans are asking or need to be asking and need to be making sure of is that if you want this, which I get it and I totally agree, I think that it's time for a change. I went through a whole segment on that with a new athletic director, new head coach, all of that. Like if that's the case, great. But Arkansas, just make sure that whoever's going to be the leader in this shows the true leadership, shows the true know-how, and shows that they, whatever decision that they make, they stick with it, they believe it, they have support in it, and they have a plan. Because if you get the timing wrong in all of this, it could set Arkansas back even further. But it's also why it should have never gotten to this point. You should never have ever found yourself once again being in a situation to where you're going to be looking for potentially, maybe, a new head coach and a new AD at the same time. We just saw this happen 6 years ago, 7 years ago. You got to get it right. Make sure your timing is impeccable when it happens. Let's talk about this schedule that Arkansas has over the next 4 years in the SEC. I actually don't mind it. I'm going to tell you why. So stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, from footwork to breathwork. Athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every single model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players out there, we sweat every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Moved and be moved. We're also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving a lot of money on the table. Well, that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is just for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much money as you thought, and Monarch helps you notice the inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. They do it all. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use that code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So officially last night, we had a chance to hear about the scheduling for the next 4 years for Razorback football, but also SEC football when it comes to opponents, who they play, and where they play them. We don't know the setup of the schedule as far as dates just yet, But for 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029, we now know exactly who the Razorbacks will be playing and where they will be playing them in the SEC. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. You have, in 2026, home games. These are the ones next season. You have 5 home games, which I felt like that was going to be the case because you have to go on the road to Utah. Your home games are Georgia. Yeah, that's right, Georgia. LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Now, obviously, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, really good teams. South Carolina is always hit and miss, and Missouri's Missouri, but you get Missouri twice in a row. Those are your home games. You get 5 of them next year. Your road games are at Auburn, at Texas A&M, and at Vanderbilt. You get to play Vanderbilt. It's going to be the first time since, I believe, 2017. Maybe, no, 2018. 2018 is when you played them last. But you get to go to Nash Vegas, take on Clark Lee next season. So you get Missouri back at home next year, but you got to go to Texas once again next year. Now, before we move on to the other years, I'll say that year, for that season next year, I'm okay with it. I know you're playing Georgia, but that's a home game, and it's a great home game. Like, your toughest games, besides maybe Texas, are all at home. And, South Carolina, Missouri, I know you never win it, but Auburn, who knows what A&M is going to look like? Vanderbilt? I mean, those aren't just these impossible matchups. I actually like the schedule next year. I really do. 5 home games. It all makes sense to me, and I like it. 2027, you have Alabama. You get to play Alabama once again. How great is that? Alabama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas. So, yeah, 2026, you don't play Ole Miss or Mississippi State, neither Mississippi schools, but you do in 2027. You get Ole Miss at home, Kentucky at home, Bama at home, and Texas at home. Then you go to Florida, to LSU, to Mississippi State, to Missouri, and to Oklahoma. Now, I know you play less home games this year because obvious reasons. But you get Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas at home. Those are big ones. Now, going to Florida, who knows what that's going to look like. LSU is going to be tough. But the rest of them, I like. At Mississippi State, at Missouri, at Oklahoma, finally get to have that game. Not too shabby. Then in 2028, your home games, Auburn, LSU, Missouri, A&M, and Vanderbilt. Not the strongest home schedule, but LSU's a good team. Then you go to Georgia, to South Carolina, to Tennessee, and to Texas. So yeah, needless to say, that schedule is probably the most difficult one when it comes to home versus road games and who you're going to be playing. That's tough. I mean, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee right there alone. It's kind of like this year, except minus Georgia. So either way, still got 5 home games. Who knows what everything's going to look like. And then in 2029, your home games are Florida, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Texas. So you got a couple good ones there. At Alabama, at Kentucky, at LSU, at Missouri, and at Ole Miss. I mean, Bama's going to be tough. LSU's going to be tough. We'll see what Ole Miss looks like, but still not too crazy. Not too crazy. But here's the point. After looking at all of that, and after looking at those games, I know it's the cool thing to do to hate on it. I actually don't mind it. I truly do not mind that schedule for Arkansas. There's a lot worse you could have done. And I know that the SEC constantly loves to screw Arkansas. When we talked about the 3 opponents, I felt like it was fair. But I want to give kudos to the SEC. They did a really good job. They did, at least from the Arkansas perspective. I'm sure there's somebody out there that felt like they got screwed, but you're not going to make everyone happy. If I'm a Razorback fan, I'm happy with the schedule. I am. You get to play everybody in every location over a 4-year span. And I feel like it's pretty balanced for the most part. So good job, SEC, for once. You did it right. You did it good. And I can't wait for some of these games, especially this next year. It's going to be awesome with these home games and even the road games too. Get to the final segment, and I'll just I'll give the Razorback fans a little bit of love here as far as what scares them the most. So stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, we know the NFL season's officially here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. No matter what it is, you got to be ready for it. So are you ready to play? Well, download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. It's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, folks. I talked about timing and the uncertainty of everything in the beginning part of the show. And, some of you may have been like, I don't really care about that. It doesn't make any sense to me and everything. Maybe I'm being over the top or whatever. And that's fine. With the uncertainty, I just want to remind everybody that if it doesn't happen in the timing that you feel like it should happen, that might be a good thing because the timing is very important. And I think the scariest thing for Razorback fans right now, and I may not be speaking for you, but I'm speaking for myself and I'm speaking to what maybe a lot of Razorbacks fans are feeling, is that when you have so much to replace, when you have so much to change, when you've already been feeling like you've been left behind and going down, it's a scary thing to think of the timing, how long it'll take. Is this going to be an instant fix like that, where you hire a new AD or a new coach or whoever needs to be hired, and suddenly the next year you're back and better than ever? Is it going to be that simple? Be awesome, but I don't know if that's the case. But if you don't do that, is it going to be a year or two? Is it going to be 3 years? What if the people in charge and the people on top of it bumble this? Hire the wrong guy. Hire the wrong AD. Hire the wrong, have the right ideas, maybe the right intentions, but not the right concepts. These are all legitimate fears and legitimate things that could end up happening. But here's my thing for Razorback fans. I know it's hard to put your trust and faith into someone that you probably don't even know, that you probably don't even know who they exist, but they're the ones that's going to be calling the shots and making the decisions. It's hard to do that. It's hard to trust someone who's in that position. But all I can ask of you, Razorback fans, is just if you're going to get scared about it, I get it. But don't let that dictate your mood. Don't let you dictate your fear of getting better. Don't be reserved. Because then you'll just not want to do anything. You got to push it. You got to push the limits. You got to push it. You got to be risky. You got to make it happen. And to me, that's the best way that it's going to happen. Cannot be afraid to take risks. Be smart about it, but also don't go the easy way out. Don't just be accepting of everything that happens. Research it, read up on it, be involved in it, but also push it a little bit. Talking to whoever's going to be in charge. Push the envelope. Do it. Make it happen. What's the worst that could happen? The football program not be relevant? Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, John Nabors Show. For any questions, comments, concerns you may have, we'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.